Hello.
Hello, Dylan. How are we doing?
Good, you?
Yeah, not too bad, not too bad. I'm ready whenever you are.
Alright, okay. Give me a sec. Right, can you see my screen?
hmm
Okay, so this is my FMP experimentation presentation. And so the aims for my experimentation are to have conceptualized and create a HUD for my game, create AI, create character sprites, create a minimap, and create a health bar and create puzzle levels for the player while maintaining a low profile. I want to achieve these aims as altogether it will create a game that requires strategic and logical thinking as you need to sneak around and make sure not to get spotted while trying to solve puzzles. With my FMP, my primary focus is the aesthetics, so making sure my HUD is pleasing to look at. I'll also making sure the characters are recognizable as well as good looking. With the skills I've acquired, I can use it to create games with very different HUD styles, and my knowledge on how to create AI will be helpful in a variety of different ways. Maybe for games or cinematics, as it can be used for simple or more advanced movement of objects in a set path or random path. The processes and skills I have used in my FMP are problem solving to try and fix my minimap and AI because I had scaling issues with my layout. I have created AI using pathfinding feature. I have utilized the shadow light feature to create like a three-dimensional feel to the game, which is just extra, like it just looks better overall. I have understood the top-down art style and used it effectively to create characters, and there you can see my AI coding and minimap coding and what I've done for that. Methods and skills I've explored how to create a minimap in AI in Construct 3. And a skill I've learned is how to utilize the shadow light feature and to create an aesthetically pleasing layout as it seems to be 3D with minimal work required. Simple but effective. With my minimap, I have had to change it several different ways from how it tracks the player's position to how it tracks the walls. I encountered a few issues dealing with scaling as that affected the minimap, so I took what I had learned from from the YouTube tutorial on how to make a mini map and have begun developing it further, trying different things so it works in my game. And there is like a YouTube link to me and Tom trying to solve the first issues I had in my mini map. Yet again, the um, scripting for how my mini map works. Um, I've deviated quite a bit from my action plans. I began starting with the HUD over starting with the turret mechanic because the way my game plays and has changed in how the player is eliminated. I no longer want to have the turret mechanic in my game. This could be something to possibly add in the future, however. I started with creating the HUDs. It was a key feature of my FMP, and I wanted things to fit around it as it was my main focus. So throughout the first week or so, I started with designing sketches of different HUDs and researched some, and then asked what the preferred HUD style is to my target audience via Google Forms. There's like my original action plan, and the like I went off it because, like as I said, the turret mechanic it didn't feel like when playtesting my game, it didn't feel like it fitted in there if I was to have it. So I just kind of went off that and did what felt right, which was to get the HUD done as it was the main focus. With my experimentation, I aim to learn how to create an aesthetically pleasing HUD that is also effective and practical compared to the other HUD design, which was more practical than it was pleasing to look at. I've also aimed to look further into different art styles and how to use them effectively. This one, the art style I've used is top down. I've researched top-down art styles and have effectively used them to create sprites that are recognizable yet simple and pleasing to look at. I went for a more simple design as too much detail can end with an unpolished final result as it doesn't fit the style of my game and theme can also seem too inconsistent with everything around. I've also created my HUD with a working health bar and working minimap, which brings practical use to it and looks good at the same time. To conduct my experiment, I used Google Forms to ask about different HUD designs. I looked at reference images when creating my HUD and character sprites. The experiments I have gone well overall, and I'm happy with my HUD and character sprites. And I have a working minimap and health bar, as well as a good-looking playable character and a good-looking AI. If I had to change anything to make it better, I'd change my character sprites and AI sprite to make the head smaller or the shoulders bigger as they seem a little out of proportion. For my final piece, I will be using the HUD design 1, because it was chosen by the target audience and it fit more of what I was doing. It didn't seem so cluttered and looked better. I've engaged with my target audience. At the beginning of the experimentation, I looked at different HUD designs and asked my audience through a Google survey what HUD design they preferred. I also asked whether I should have a health bar or a red screen or both. The conclusion was HUD design 1 and use both red screen and health bar. Getting this information was really helpful to me as the HUD is a key aspect of my game. And the red screen adds extra added detail and depth to the urgency of you being injured. As well as that, it also has practical use of letting you know quickly you have been hurt without taking your eyes away from the center of the screen to look at the health bar. If there is more of this, more information going a bit more in depth on my Wix of talking about all this stuff as well. And that is the end of my presentation.
Cool. Okay. Thanks, Tim. So talking about things like your experimentation and stuff, do you want to show me things like you said you were talking about your character sprites and things like that? Do you want to show us them and talk through sort of how you've made changes with them and the development and stuff like that?
Okay. So right. So down here I was researching what ideas I could have my character for, and this was I like this idea because it being a stealth game, I wanted to be around I wanted you to have the idea that he was like a spy or an agent, and there was no defining feature of a spy or agent because usually they're depicted as just looking like normal people and just blending in. But I wanted a defining feature so you could recognize my character. So I thought this would be a good way to approach it, of putting these on him. And so I tested that out, looked at it, and I thought it fit pretty well. And as you see, the head is a bit out of proportion compared to the body in that. And yeah, there's just some things I looked at.
So have you looked at, go on, sorry, go on.
I was also, there's also a variation, for my guard, but I don't think I've got a picture of him on here.
Okay, and in terms of, have you looked at top-down games, top-down stealth games? You've looked at those images as your influence and stuff, but have you looked at sort of games that are doing stuff from a similar camera angle and things like that?
Most of the top-down things I have looked at, but haven't been documented. I don't know why I didn't. But most of the top-down games I did look at were if it was in darkness, the character sprites were circles and you didn't really see too much detail to them. And I personally I didn't see them as recognizable characters and what they are, so it didn't feel like it influenced my character design in too much from what I did see anyway when looking.
Have you looked at so the stuff like the lighting as well? You said you experimented with that shadow lighting. Did you experiment with other techniques, other lighting techniques, other ways of sort of things like that within the game?
So I didn't use anything else to achieve the same effect, but I did mess around with the shadow light feature and try different ways because you can change the opacity of the shadows or light. You can have the height, so it has so in Construct it does actually have a z-axis, and that works with the shadow light feature of how high it will bring it toward, how close it will bring it to you. And so I messed around with what felt right and what I achieved here, in this video you can see, which was mainly about discussing with the mini map, but you can see the shadow light feature being used.
Okay. Excellent. So, do you have any questions, Dylan, or anything else you want to ask me, raise with me, or anything?
No, thank you.
Cool. All right. Deadline 1 o'clock. So go through your Wix, make sure you've got everything on there. Okay. You've got this time from now until then to ask me any questions, anything you're unsure about, anything at all. Okay. So go through it as a checklist. Make sure there's nothing there, nothing missing for handing. All right.
Yep.
Excellent. Right. Take care, Dylan. I will give you proper feedback on the Tuesday. All right. So, be ready for that. All the best. Take care, and I'll speak to you soon. All right.
All right.
All the best. Take care. Bye. Bye. Bye.